So, good evening, and thank you for joining Journeying Toward a Healthy Lifestyle, brought to you by Insignia Training Partners in collaboration with BNI First Choice Professions Group. My name is Bernie DeSantis, and I'm the CEO and owner of Insignia Training Partners. We're an outsourced or fractional training and resource provider. Now, we do intend for this to be an interactive and engaging event, so please be sure to participate in the chat, answer the polling question as we proceed. Also, please post your questions or comments in the chat and we'll weave them into the conversation or hold them to the end during our Q&A. And also, please be advised that our event is being recorded today. With that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff Miller with BNI.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Glad to be here tonight. So my name is Jeff Miller. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of a BNI group of First Choice Professions. It's our pleasure to co-host this event with Bernie and Insignia Training Partners. So for those who are not familiar with BNI, BNI stands for Business Networking International, and it's actually the world's largest business networking and referral organization. There's over 270,000 members in over 70 countries worldwide. Our chapter, First Choice Professions, is located in Southeast Michigan. We meet every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. And our sole goal is to help our businesses grow. We help each other grow by providing warm market referrals. So if for those who want to grow their business or know somebody who wants to grow their business through warm market referrals, I'll leave my contact information in the chat and feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to give you more details. So enough of me. I will now introduce our guest speaker of the evening. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Kate Mayer, who is a BSN RN, who is also a certified nurse coach. Her goal with her business is to guide clients on their journey towards whole person wellness. She is the owner of Sonata Health Consultants and is a speaker bureau presenter for Wayne State University. Her passion is helping clients identify the next step in their journey toward better health, and I think you will see that in the workshop tonight. It's my pleasure to welcome my friend, Kate Mayer. Take it away, Kate.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate the warm introduction and the meaningful help that I have received through both BNI and through Insignia Training. Insignia Training makes a world of difference for presenters to make things flow much more easily and effectively. So I thank Bernie for partnering to bring this presentation to you, and to BNI. Phenomenal connections. In fact, last week I introduced a client to the group's lawyer that Jeff is a part of, that Ken and Jacob are a part of. And this person came to me in tears this week saying, thank you for the connection you made. This lawyer is able to help me and my children. So lovely connections there in all sorts of professional fields. So thank you again for hosting this event. I hope that you are able to take something away tonight, as I am hoping that for each one of you. So again, my name is Kate Mayer. I'm a BSN RN and a board certified nurse coach. That doesn't mean I coach only nurses. That means that I'm a holistic coach that coaches the whole person. So tonight, I want to invite you into a conversation that I love to have over a cup of something warm. So whatever you love to drink, hot chocolate, tea, chai tea, coffee, it's all good to me. So I want you to think of this time as a gift, a time that you can think through what might be your next step on your journey towards a healthy lifestyle. We're even going to get into the why of what that healthy lifestyle might mean to you. So this green line on the title slide is not just a poorly placed graphic. It's actually a fill in the blank. You get to choose. What is the organ or the system or the disease that you're targeting for prevention? So for example, you can fill in this blank with maybe heart, journeying toward a heart healthy lifestyle, or journeying toward a brain healthy lifestyle. Or in my case, I'm journeying toward an immune system healthy lifestyle. So everything I'm doing aims towards that organ system. It may be some people are looking to prevent dementia or improve their lung health or journey toward a healthy GI tract or a healthy kidney function. Everyone has their own fill in the blank. So as we go along, use your individual fill in the blank in this journey. John Maxwell said, "Find your why and you'll find your way." And while this quote has a much deeper meaning that relates to our purpose and existential questions that I love to go over in one-to-one coaching, and I would love to hang out here, let's apply this quote in the area of journeying toward a blank healthy lifestyle. Find your why and you'll find your way. Your why will be the thing that propels you on the hardest days. It will help you choose a fruit instead of a candy bar, or a fun size candy bar instead of 3 king size candy bars. It will help you keep going when you're on minute 12 of exercising and you just
Kate, I apologize. I accidentally muted you.
that's okay. So this why is going to help you find the passion to be propelled in your efforts towards a healthy lifestyle. In order to find your why, it's easy to start with the negative. So for example, I don't want to die. That's a great negative statement, isn't it? It's the I don't want. Maybe it's I don't want to get sick and die like so-and-so, maybe your family or your friend. And then you can ask one more layer deeper. Okay, why? If I don't want to get sick and die like my parent, then why? Okay, maybe I want to stay as healthy for as long as possible. And I want to be able to play with my grandchildren in the future. Okay, so dig a little deeper. Why? There's the grandchildren. What about today? How do you want to feel today? And you may be able to dig one more deeper as to why. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's vibrancy. Maybe it's resiliency. It's the present moment of how you want to be. So for example, there was a time in my life where I was looking at a Reese's cup and I was deciding, how am I going to be in my life? Am I going to continue to consume things that will put me at higher risk for these immune diseases? Or am I going to aim for vibrancy and being able to play with my grandchildren and being able to have joy today? If you dig deep, you can find that why that will propel you on those hardest days. So I'm going to give you a chance. I'll give you a chance to raise your hand, and I want to hear maybe from, let's see, maybe 2 people that they might want to share their why or their fill in the blank. What's your fill in the blank? So who wants to share what maybe organ they're trying to keep healthy, what maybe disease they're trying to prevent? If you're comfortable sharing, go ahead and take yourself off mute, and we'll hear from maybe 2 people before we keep cruising tonight. What's your why?
Okay, I'll go.
Go for it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So if you're going for organs,
Yeah.
so my journey toward a healthy pancreas.
Yes, beautiful. Excellent. Great. I cannot wait to hear what you take away from this presentation. Excellent.
Okay.
So she filled in the blank with a specific organ system. Anyone else?
Hi, Kate. I'll go.
Hi, Lisa. Thank
I
you.
was really happy to see this. I need to journey towards high energy. My energy level is very, very low. And I know that if I can get up and get moving, that will almost correct itself, but I'm interested to hear where we go with that.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're looking for vibrancy. We're looking for that deeper why, right? I
Mhm.
love it. So throughout this, you're going to hear several areas that can impact both those, pancreatic health and our energy and vibrancy. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I love how you're going to see, no matter what we're aiming at, that the same things affect those fill in the blanks. Even though they're as varied as organ systems and body systems and all the way to those self-actualized or the highest pinnacle of health with energy, you'll see that the same modalities, the same health focuses or foci will affect all of those areas. So let's see. Even though we have varied answers, let's see how this plays out. So this is a chart of how American males died in 2019. And the chart is similar for females, just fewer accidents. So let's take a peek. We have heart disease taking up almost a quarter of all the people who died in 2019, all the males, about 25% were from heart disease, another 21% from cancer. That lower teal color is the unintentional injuries. We'll skip that for now. Chronic lung is next. So the respiratory diseases like COPD, which are have a frequent preventative risk factor for smoking that we can address. Stroke, then comes diabetes, Alzheimer's, which can be called diabetes type 3. It's typically grouped in with some of the similar risk factors and symptoms of clogging that area. And then sadly, suicide. We'll keep going to chronic liver diseases and cirrhosis. Some are fatty, some are alcoholic. And then kidney disease, which is frequently found in people with diabetes. So let's do some easy math. What's 100% minus about those 25% that's in the other? So we've got 100 minus 25, about 75%. So about 75% of people died from those diseases. Now, this picture to the left shows a pretty pink sprinkled donut with a ribbon. Well, let me tell you the real story. It's not so pretty. So my career path took a hard left one day during my clinicals. I was a nursing student. I was probably 20, and I went into the med-surg unit 1 week to care for a woman, and she had diabetes. And unfortunately, she lost her toes because of the diabetic neuropathy and the venous and arterial insufficiency that can come with diabetes. And, she asked for ice cream at lunch, and I said, well, boy, it's been a hard day. No wonder she wants some ice cream for lunch. And I came back the next week, and this poor woman had lost above the ankle on the other leg from this diabetic complication. She asked for more ice cream for lunch, and I thought, well, okay, here you go. I came back the next week and she had lost above the knee on the original side, and she was still asking for more ice cream. And I thought, I am not a nutritionist or a registered dietitian, but even I know there's something up with this picture. Can't quite put my finger on it, but I wonder. And at that moment, I said, you know what? I am going to Pediatric World, which is where I stayed for a while. And it's really funny because now I work with people with diabetes all of the time. So the real picture is not this pretty pink sprinkled donut and this very nicely organized diabetic meter. It is much, much more difficult than that. So why can we all fill in the blank? Why can we fill in the blank with different things and it comes out the same? Dr. Golubic of the Cleveland Clinic is a lifestyle medicine specialist, and he has published research that shows about 80% of these chronic diseases that killed those 75% of males in 2019 are driven by lifestyle factors such as diet and exercise. The same lifestyle recommendations work across the board. So, for example, I can work with clients who have food allergy, polycystic ovarian syndrome, premenstrual dysmorphic disorder, or really, really severe PMS. It's worse than that. It's very life impacting. Anxiety, heart attacks, Crohn's. I can work with all of these people, and we have the same basis of holistic wellness no matter what diagnosis we start with. So prevention and management of these chronic diseases is part of achieving the fifth why. Nobody wants to be sick, right? We want to be vibrant. We want to be healthy. So if we can address these lifestyle factors, we can work on preventing those people who had died of those chronic diseases. So think of the millions upon millions of people that could live full, vibrant lives if they apply the healthy habits that we know nowadays. Is it worth it to make more nourishing choices so that you can live a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life? Look at all these people that 80% would cover through lifestyle medicine. So it brings us to two ideas. We have lifespan, and we have numbers on that. Tim Peterson is an assistant professor at the Department of Medicine in Washington, and he said that lifespan right now is about 79 years old. And I love this man. He reminds me of my grandpa, and just the vigor and all of the stories behind those eyes, right? So this person is representing the full lifespan and the average lifespan of a male in the United States at this time. But what we're really looking for is not the number of years we live. We're actually looking for the number of healthy years that we live. And this is now being called health span. And unfortunately, health span in the United States right now is about 63 years old on average. These are the number of years that people can expect to live a healthy life without being encumbered by preventable chronic diseases and illness. So you can see why our first why of I don't want to die isn't quite the whole picture. No, it's not even I want to live, right? That's just lifespan. The goal of the third and the fourth and the fifth why that get deeper and deeper is that it touches health span. The future-oriented why aims at extending our health span. And I love this lady. I want to be this lady when I grow up, right? So remember, what is your why? That's what's going to propel you on those hard days toward a healthy lifestyle with your fill in the blank. So the question is then, how? We're going to go through 5 simple areas that we can address. And for each one of you, you'll have a different takeaway. So let's move into how. It's going to be one step at a time, right? You don't start looking at Mount Everest and saying, I'm going to climb that today, right? You won't make it. You won't even make it alive. You need to plan, prepare your body. You need to book a flight to Nepal. You need to find helpers. Even the Couch to 5K programs take a couple of months, right? So don't launch into another fad diet that you will not be able to keep up because it is so restrictive. Don't do some crazy thing like couch to CrossFit in 5 days flat, because that's also really stressful on the body, and your body will respond by doing all sorts of fun survival tricks that put you in a worse place. So as Anna in the last Frozen movie said, take a step, step again. For example, if I have a client who wants to address insomnia, we're not going to start by doing all the things at once, because that client will be able to keep that up for maybe 24 hours before things start to peel away and fall apart, right? We add in one habit at a time until it is strong and steady, and it's a foundation for them to build their next step for health. So even though we take one step, we kind of need to know where those baby steps might be able to be taken. So this is looking at our lives holistically, and we kind of tease them apart so that we can look at each specific part. Even though we know they interact and we're holistic beings, we need to tease them apart one at a time. So for example, my husband was in the C12, it's a Christian businessmen group, and every month they would do an assessment of their lives, their holistic lives. They would rate their wellness similar to this scale, and then they would address the areas that were that they were rating as low. So the idea is to take a look at the holistic wellness wheel, and then as you're making plans for yourself to improve your health in different areas, schedule a re-evaluation. I call this the wellness reset or a wellness refresh, and it's literally on my calendar. I take myself out for coffee and I look at where I'm at and what area needs some TLC, right? So let's explore 5 camps on our journey toward better health. The order is personalized to you, but all the camps are critical for great health, right? And there are many paths between the camps. Those are also personalized. No 2 journeys are exactly the same. So enjoy the journey. Enjoy finding what works for your own health. So like I said, Dr. Golubic at Cleveland Clinic shows 5 different areas, and we're going to use his structure to go through these areas and take a peek at what we can optimize. These are the 5 healthy habits for reducing illness and disease, chronic disease that causes death. These are the 5 camps on the journey toward better health. We've got sleep. We're going to look at nutrition after that, movement, mindfulness, and of course, human connection. So let's start with sleep. So let's get a poll going. I want to see how much sleep we're averaging right now. This is anonymous. Go ahead and click on the one that most describes your sleep, and I'll give you a few seconds here. Beautiful. We'll get a nice bell curve going on this one. Excellent. So it looks like as you're finishing putting your numbers in, most of you are getting between about 6 and 7 hours of sleep, with a little bit at the 5-hour mark. All right. So I think a lot of people know common knowledge that the average amount of sleep that a human being needs is about 7 to 8 hours on average. Usually women need about half an hour more than men, especially to support hormonal health. So those are about the targets that you're aiming for. Do you remember, and I'll close this out. Thank you for sharing. I love seeing where people are at. Do you remember a Homer Simpson episode where Homer Simpson was working 2 jobs, and on the way home from one job, he falls asleep at the wheel. He's dreaming and he gets home, but he's crashed through his fence and he lands in his garage. He goes to bed, lays his head down on the pillow, and the alarm goes off the very next second for him to go to his second job. And it just shows this disaster of his health as he tries to hold down 2 jobs to buy, I believe it's something for his daughter. So it's funny in a cartoon, but boy, it's not funny in the real world, right? Coming from a nursing background, many people who work nights report falling asleep at the wheel on the way home. So this has real consequences for our health, in fact. So the idea is that we're going to support this healthy lifestyle through supporting our sleep. And there are several ways that we can prioritize rest. The Harvard School of Medicine has several ideas for sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene is simply putting in some structure to help your body know that it's time to rest. We think about toddlers. Would you ever take a toddler out at night to a store with bright lights, play really strong music on the way home, keep them up late, give them a candy bar, and then throw them into bed and expect them to sleep? No. So we're not going to do the same thing to our adult bodies. Bodies work the same way when it comes to sleep hygiene. And it's really interesting. This data even holds up into older adults. So even past age 65, the sleep hygiene is still effective at that age. It's incredible how these things are the foundational basics, right? So some of the ways we can prioritize rest are revving down our thoughts and emotions, whatever that takes, whether it's journaling or having some time for meditation. I use an app called Lectio 365. It's a devotional that has really quiet background music that I can do deep breathing to. It's amazing. It helps me rev down my thoughts and emotions before bedtime. You need to prepare a dark, cool, comfy room. Sometimes we just keep it too warm and that wakes us up. Or sometimes too cold, just like those young kids who will say they're cold. Same idea for adults. It's finding that right temperature for you. Keeping times consistent is actually a very simple and yet extremely effective measure for improving sleep. There's about an hour and a half leeway. Some studies show even down to an hour of where we can vary. So let's say you are a person that loves to sleep in on the weekends. It is actually causing jet lag, so that it's similar to if you had flown across the country and out of the time zone. The idea is whatever you do to make your waking times and your sleeping times not vary over about an hour, hour and a half if you are having trouble with sleeping. Reserving your bed for sleeping. It's really easy to watch TV in bed or scroll or answer emails in bed, but your body knows the difference. It starts to associate working with your bedroom, and your brain is so smart, it will try to keep you awake to complete your work, right? So keeping the bed just for sleeping is really important. Flip that clock, an anxious thought. How many times do you wake up in the middle of the night and you're looking at the clock and you're starting to do math and then you're starting to get anxious, like, I'm not going to have enough rest for the next day? The idea is don't look at the clock. Tell yourself, I will have plenty of rest for whatever I need to accomplish the next day. And it keeps you from revving up into anxiety about loss of sleep. Get up and try again. This is the hardest one to do when you're at least in a comfortable bed, right? The best data shows that after 20 minutes awake, if you're struggling with insomnia, to get up, cool your body back down and try again. Do your same sleep routine again. And the idea is that when you lay awake, sometimes that can develop the sleep association with insomnia. So get up, try again. It's a brave thing to do 20 minutes into being awake. So those are some ways that we can prioritize rest. What's your next step? Does it have to do with sleep? The next area we'll focus on is that a blank, fill in the blank, healthy lifestyle supports nutrition. Here's a funny meme I saw. I accidentally went grocery shopping on an empty stomach, and I'm now the proud owner of aisle 6. We've all been there. In fact, my husband said yesterday, oh, don't go to the restaurant when you're hungry or your bill will be twice as big, right? We all know that when we shop on an empty stomach, we fill up, right? So this picture I love. It's so creative. And the idea is that we can nourish our bodies with the things that come right out of the ground, right? In fact, there's a study that shows that someone who eats more than 30 fruits and vegetables per week has a much more full microbiome, or the the microorganisms, the bacteria, viruses, molds that are supposed to be there are growing stronger the more variety of fruits and vegetables that we eat. So I thought the variety in this image was quite amazing. So as we take a look around the camp of nutrition, I want you to notice, what's your next step? Eat real food. This is amazing. I had a friend who this is all they did, and they became the epitome of health. They probably dropped 150 pounds and are super vibrant. And this is all they did. They cut out processed foods, and that included sodas. And this is what they eat. They eat more vegetables, more fruits, whole grains, low-fat dairy or dairy substitutes, fish, poultry, beans, nuts and seeds, and vegetable oils, things that come right out of the ground. And this person limited fatty meats, full-fat dairy, sugar-sweetened beverages, like I said, and sweets, and they decreased their sodium intake. And the result was remarkable. So our bodies run on real food. You'll have so many different opinions about what we should and shouldn't eat. Even with this chart, there can be people who argue with different areas. The idea is the closer it is to how it came out of the ground or off the tree, the healthier it is for our body, and the more our body recognizes it as food. Another important area is that we eat it in nourishing amounts. MyPlate.gov came out with a new graphic. The food pyramid was very difficult to use for everybody, including dietitians. So we simplified it. In fact, my family has these plastic, not quite plastic, some kind of decent, not melamine plates that have the proportions right there for us. So our kids can learn what is a nourishing plate. We had these silicone plates for a while, so you can see a low-fat chicken sausage for protein, a whole grain pasta with brown rice and quinoa, and some olive oil and herbs, and then a salad with just a little bit of dried fruit right there. The amounts matter. How many times would you load up a bowl of pasta and fill up on that and then say, oh, shoot, I don't have room for those vegetables. Would you look at that? So if we start with our vegetables taking up almost half the plate with a little room for fruit and about a quarter of the rest in whole grains and low fat protein, lean proteins, we are well on our way to nourishing our bodies well. All right, planners and preppers, they get the A+ here because they reach their goals. So I have a special friend here, Jeff Miller, who I usually quote in this part of the presentation. He has a special quote about planning. Jeff, would you mind sharing?
Absolutely. And I got this from Ben Franklin, so I'll aside, but if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail.
Thank you, Jeff. And that is 100% true in finances, as he is a financial advisor and sees that every day in his clients, as well as in nutrition, as I see in my clients. They can have the best intentions, but boy, when it is supper time and there is nothing edible other than ready-made meals, it's very difficult to make a nourishing choice in that moment. So I like to offer a blend of meal prepping, where there's something available for you to grab when you're hungry, and having other ideas that are adding variety. So you don't eat 5 dishes of the same thing if you get very terribly sick of the same thing. So the idea is to blend that together. I also recommend using a meal planner so that you have the food you need in your home when you need to make it, instead of using DoorDash as your fail-safe. So I encourage you to use a meal plan. It helps to make a healthy shopping list and then to be able to meal prep these healthy meals. So remember, what is your why? And then out of that why, what is your next step? In nutrition, is there anything there that you need to give a little bit of care and attention to reach your why? The next area is all about movement. So I want you to put in the chat, what is your favorite form of movement? What's your favorite form of exercise, meaningful movement that you enjoy? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Let's see what we like to do here. Jog. Ooh, walking outdoors and hiking. Stroll, nice. Walking, jogging. Boot camp, yes. And walking the dog, gorgeous. Dancing, oh, that's fun. That just makes the time pass so fast, doesn't it? Tennis, woo, very good. Who's tried pickleball? That's all the rage in my circles. Anybody tried pickleball? Yes. Oh, biking, yes, very good. Look at all of these ways that we enjoy moving our bodies and getting some meaningful movement in. So as you go through this area, I want you to think about how movement can support the healthy lifestyle that you're looking for. And if you're including the forms of movement that improve your risk factors for what you're looking to decrease. So what's your next step in exercise? As we look at the next slide, I want you to think about that. These are all the benefits. We know that movement is extremely beneficial. In fact, a 30-year study by the US Department of Health and Human Services showed a 21% decrease in all-cause mortality just through exercise. So think about 21% of those people not dying in 2019 because they exercise. That's how effective exercise is. And in fact, it's actually more effective in mental health. It can be as effective as pharmaceuticals, which typically have about an 80% effective rate. So think about exercise being as important to our mental health as a Zoloft or Prozac. Isn't that incredible? So the World Health Organization lists a bunch of benefits to help you get motivated through that sweat, right? We have a decrease in all-cause mortality, including cardiovascular disease mortality, so heart attacks, hypertension, high blood pressure, certain cancers can be reduced by exercise, type 2 diabetes, falls, mental health challenges like we were talking about, cognitive decline, sleep problems. So the recommendation almost across the board for all ages is about 60 minutes 3 times a week or 150 minutes over the week. So however you break it up, sometimes I'll tell, especially teenagers, I'll tell them, just do 10-minute chunks. Like check off if you walked from far off in the parking lot to the school. There you go, 10 minutes, you know, whatever you do for 10 minutes, just check it off until you're up to 60 in that day. And it will be effective in helping you reduce risk. We want it to be vigorous, we want it to be bone building, and we want it to be muscle building in order to decrease those risks. So there is an endless supply of routes to this camp, right? We can use a standing desk to push back against that sedentary lifestyle. We can do step challenges with our friends or colleagues. We can get a treadmill when there's snow on the ground, right? And throw a book on there or your favorite TV show and just knock that time out while you're preventing disease. Some people love to swim, bike, kayak, like we talked about pickleball, makes many of my friends smile. I haven't tried it yet. I think I'm gonna go grab a kit and grab a kit from our library and see what it's all about. In fact, one of my clients who finally got to ride their bike after recovering from surgery had the biggest smile because that's what lit this person up, right? So find your fitness fun. And what's your next step in exercise and meaningful movement land? The next place that we're going to explore in our healthy lifestyle is mindfulness. And the idea in mindfulness is being in the present moment, not living in the past, not forward future living and trying to solve all of tomorrow's problems. What is your next step in mindfulness? As we go along, I want you to notice. The idea of mindfulness is savoring the present. It's a gift. appreciate what's happening as it's happening, right? So we can use gratefulness. Some people keep gratefulness journals. So people start their day with 3 things that they're grateful for, or they close their day with 3 things that they appreciate about that day. Grounding is another great way. Taking your socks and shoes off and going outside and actually feeling real grass and real dirt is incredible for the human spirit. And there may even be electrical reactions that take place by touching the dirt again. In fact, we can pick up some really good gut microbes from being more in touch with the soil. Being mindful in that present moment can happen through meditation or breathing. The idea of meditation being, some people try to empty their mind, some people try to hone in on a thought, such as trust or surrender, or being mindful there in that moment, and trying to get to a place where you're sticking with your own breath and not anything outside. No past issues, no issues of the day, no issues that are coming up tomorrow. Just being present with your breath and your breathing. So if you practice any form of mindfulness, who wants to open up their mic and tell me what benefits you notice from any of these practices? It can be prayer, meditation, breathing practices. If anyone wants to share, they can open their mic, and we'll hear from a few people about what benefits they receive from practicing mindfulness.
I'll say for me, it's it gives me peace. You know, I'm running at 100 miles a minute most days, and you know, taking a few minutes at the end of the day, you know, before I go to bed, to do a little bit of meditation, it's a little bit of conscious breathing, to slow myself down a little bit. You know, kind of going back to the sleeping portion, helps to relax my mind and my body before I lay down for the night.
Yes, yes. Thanks for sharing, Bernie. That's huge, to take the pace of our day and slow it down before we try to rest. I love that. Anyone else want to share what benefits they get from mindfulness exercises?
I will share some.
Go
So
for it, Ken.
yes, so usually, I mean, probably not just me. I will always worry about something will happen, something I haven't do tomorrow. So at the point in the evening, I just need to stop thinking about, because that's not going to help me today, right? So a lot of things you just need to save till tomorrow. And at a certain point, like an hour before I go into bed, I just stop thinking about any problem could happen or will happen tomorrow.
Yes, beautiful, Ken. I love that. You have a time limit to your worrying about the next day, right? And then you say that can be taken care of tomorrow, so I can rest now. I love that. Thanks for sharing. These can be so impactful. We see improvements in blood pressure, improvements in immune system functioning, improvements in decreasing the over ability of the blood to clot. It's just incredible when we bring relaxation back into the picture, especially when we use our breath to do it. So thinking about your why, what is your next step in mindfulness? What does that look like? The last area that we'll explore is human connection. And whatever your fill in the blank is, we know that human connection is vital. I love this picture because we're seeing the difference. If you look at this first picture, these people look connected, right? Maybe they're all part of a work team. Maybe they're all connected on social media. They look connected, right? But what we're missing is this true human connection, day in, day out, real, authentic connection as human beings. These guys don't have a cell phone in their hands. They're laughing at whatever someone is saying. It must be a great time that they're having. So what's your next step as we look around this camp of human connection? I want you to notice, what's your next step? So let's talk about what's so bad about loneliness. Loneliness is characterized by poor social relationships. And in a study released in 2023 by the US Surgeon General, there is an epidemic of loneliness, and the health effects are similar to 15 cigarettes a day. There's a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke, according to the CDC. So we know that loneliness is very impactful on health. There's a quote that says, "Solitude vivifies," or in other words, if I choose to be alone, that will bring life to me and my body and my soul. But isolation kills. And the difference is choice. I can choose to be alone, right? But when I'm not choosing solitude, it's isolation. And actually, about 40% of older adults are not in any kind of human contact in an entire week. If you think about that level of loneliness, you can see why it would have that kind of impact. But we don't have to be older adults to be in that category of feeling lonely. So the idea is, how can we plan to connect? And the idea is to create an anti-isolation plan. Maybe this is part of your self-care plan. It could be time with yourself. I call these self dates. They're my favorite because I'm an introvert. I could spend hours by myself and not even start to get bored or lonely. It's fantastic. I love budgeting out my time of how I'm going to spend my self-date time. It could be time with friends over coffee or over a hike. It's so much fun to go walking with people because you're talking and getting your heart rate up at the same time and breathing in that fresh air. Oh, nothing beats that in my book. Time with family and larger groups of friends. Being in community houses of worship is a way to connect with others, or interest-based groups, neighborhoods. And we can really connect with others when we're giving back. It can connect with our purpose and make our relationships fuller, that they're not self-focused, but that they're others-focused and giving back. So to combat loneliness, we actually need to plan to connect. Don't wait for others to reach out. You be the person that reaches out to others, and you will find that so many people are also lonely and are just waiting for others to reach out. So you be the one, take the initiative, and let's overcome this loneliness epidemic together. So what's your next step in human connection? I want you to notice if there's an area there that would help prevent those diseases or improve the health that you were talking about in your fill in the blank part at the beginning. So remember your why. This man and woman have their family around. These older adults have accomplished goals even later in life with fitness. And I love these three at the bottom. They show me what health span is all about, right? These are the people I want to be when I grow up. So you can see they're connected and they are enjoying a healthy life. So again, the healthy lifestyle areas that you may want to address are sleep and optimizing rest, nutrition and optimizing nourishment, movement and making sure it's meaningful, mindfulness, savoring that present, and human connection. If you're interested, you can drop in the chat your takeaway or your insight if you feel comfortable doing that, what your next step is in your health journey. These are the super smart people that I referenced, and I want to open up the chat to questions. If you have questions that I can answer here, or you can open up your mic if you don't have chat function. Sometimes I know phones can be tricky with chat. So go ahead and share any questions that you have or any takeaways, and we'll address those.
Okay, Kate, this is Natalie.
Yes, Natalie.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the presentation, and Ken, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, great presentation. You know, I can relate to all 5 of those things. I think more so the one or the 2 that I would probably focus on more would be the movement, as well as the mindfulness. I think we have a tendency sometimes to have good intentions of being mindful. And I always try to notice the more I'm mindful, the more value I can deliver to others. I just feel I have a better day doing that, by doing that. And then the movement is, you know, just something that I think that we all have to do. And it's easy to get lax. And so it was a great reminder. So great presentation though. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Natalie. I love your takeaways. Everyone has their individual next step, right? And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to go sign up for the Detroit Marathon, right?
Right.
It's just that next step in meaningful movement. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to comment too, Kate, that you know, having health issues myself a couple of years ago, I started to implement some of this stuff that you're talking about now, health and nutrition and movement. But the thing that I want to work on the most is the sleep portion of it. You know, being a planner, as much as I write things down, I'm still always thinking about it, and just being able to shut that down. And some of those tips that you gave, sleep techniques and how to calm yourself down before sleeping, I'm certainly going to try.
Yes, yes,
I love it.
yes.
I love it how some people can like literally be looking at their phone and then hit the pillow and they're out in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's
Not the way.
that's my goal.
Yeah, not the way you work right now, huh? Yeah, there's actually a mnemonic I came up with. No, it's a song that I came up with. I will spare you the singing, but the idea is to put away work and make sure caffeine's out of your body about 3 hours before bed, and then be putting away all of the entertainment about 2 hours before bed, turning down the lights, and then an hour before bed being off all screens. And we try to trick ourselves with these, you know, blue light filters, and some people even put red light into the room, like red light bulbs, to try to trick their brains into saying that it's sleep time. It's actually the content that keeps our minds going late into the night. So even if you're reading on a Paperwhite Kindle, if the content is fascinating, it will keep you up even if you don't have blue light coming through as well. So that's the mnemonic of kind of bringing our brain down into sleep mode.
It looks like there is some feedback and maybe a question in the chat. I don't know if you can read that or not.
Let me pull it up again. I think chat came off for me. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah, Lisa, the human connection's difficult with working from home for sure. That's why I call it creating an anti-isolation plan, because so many of us work from home or work via technology, and it's easy to forget that we need to get together with human beings, right? And each one of us needs to. There are so many people who work from home that need that connection as well. Yeah, that's a great place to look. Mindfulness and reaching out to others. Yes, I love it. Yes, because as you're healing your own heart and health, you're helping someone else heal at the same time by reaching out. It's incredible. I fall asleep great, but wake up from a crazy dream and hard time falling back to sleep. Yes, yes. So in this way, frequently we can look back at our day. We all think about how to put our minds to rest at night, but actually sometimes we need to back up into the day and decrease our anxiety or stress levels during the day. Sometimes if we focus more on breathing in keeping our cortisol levels or our other stress hormones lower during the day, we can actually sleep better at 2 a.m. when our stress hormones want to come back to play in the middle of the night. So sometimes it's just as easy as addressing daytime stress and reducing the effects of that. Sometimes we can't change life, right? My family had 2 family emergencies today. So you can believe I was using my deep breathing to decrease my stress levels today, right? During the day so that I can sleep tonight. Yeah. Thank you, Tammy, for sharing that.
I wanted to ask you, my name is Michelle, and
Yes.
I want to apologize that I was a little late, but I've transitioned from having an illness for the last couple of years right into taking care of my parents and their health issues, which have been going on for quite a while, but they're getting to an age where it's had a huge increase in the last couple of years, and especially in recent months. On my both sides of my family, there's sleep apnea, but
Yes.
it doesn't while definitely there is a factor of weight, there isn't a factor of weight for a lot of the other ones that have this issue. And it seems to be heart issues on both sides. And many of them have said, of course, that their doctor states that their sleep apnea was a huge factor of this. I'm just perplexed about if this has just always been an issue or why even the thin folks are now seeming to have it a lot, and what one can do to combat that. And then also with someone who doesn't have that yet, but has some of the risk factors coming from both sides of the family, I don't even know what to do to address it with my doctor, or to know, barring a heart attack happening, how I even prepare, would know if there's even an issue happening.
Yeah, great question, Michelle. Great question. You're right. The being overweight is a high risk factor for obstructive sleep apnea. And typically even about a 10-pound weight loss can decrease the amount of apnea that's occurring. So that's why doctors always will go for that one first. And so really putting all of the efforts towards weight loss for people who are overweight can really make a difference in that obstructive sleep apnea. For people who are not overweight, there can be different issues. First of all, there's obstructive and then there's central. So making sure that there's not a brain issue with the wake sleep cycle of respiration. But then the obstructive part, a fantastic professional who might be able to help would be a really top-notch ENT who can look at the structures of the throat to see if any are floppy or have areas that are not anatomically, structurally sound. Sometimes they can add a little bit of lasering and make them stronger. If this is maybe a congenital thing that the whole family has been experiencing, we typically do that in young children who are experiencing sleep apnea. And sometimes it can even work up into adulthood. So a good ENT looking down the airway might be helpful. Another one would be positioning. You can use positioning to help get the tongue structure out of the back of the throat. And then if you're looking for ways to decrease illness and disease, of course, this is not medical advice, but across the board, fiber is your friend. Fiber is protective across the board for heart disease, neuro disease, many cancers, hypertension, stroke. All of these things can be really pressed back upon using fiber. And the great thing is that it supports a healthy gut microbiome, which it's telling your body how to function. Our microbiome is in charge of a whole lot more than we think. So if you're looking to decrease your risk factors for almost anything, I always start with fiber. Even if there's some kind of inflammatory bowel disease, carefully adding fiber is really key in preventing most things. So yeah, talk with an ENT, get your risk factors figured out, and most of the time people can get a sleep study to see where they're at right now. Yeah, great question, Michelle.
I gotta have a follow-up question to that, if that's okay. And this is a
Sure.
little weird, and it coincidentally, I see Tammy's comment come up, but I've had 3 sleep studies, and while weight is probably a factor now, and I need to go do it again, I've always been told that I don't have sleep apnea, but I have really disruptive sleep. And
Mhm.
while a doctor has never met with me about it, I've lived in the Midwest in various big cities, and I've never had a great resource to talk about it. But I've been told by some of the technicians that they know that there are issues. They can tell that I am dreaming intensely. And they state that some family lines don't lose, excuse me, the stage of sleep that most people do in their teen years, and that we continue to have dreams and have that stage of sleep that creates night terrors in children or intense things. And so through one of my family lines, and it is also the same people that do tend to have heart problems and are known to have bad sleep, we all talk in our sleep, we all walk in our sleep, we all have very, very vivid dreams, we're all very creative people, but there's no resource. It feels like I told, oh, it's, it's not like I'm being sent to someone to deal with it. There's no resource. They say that there's specialists, but they're very, rare, and they're usually on the coasts, and it's hard to get into them. And I don't even know how to address it, or if it's even a point of this, but it is a huge factor in our lives. And most of it's very funny and comical, but I do know that it's affecting our health.
Yeah, Michelle, that's a great question. Why don't you email me? I have some further ideas for you. I know it's 8 o'clock, so we'll let the presentation wrap up. But if you can, do you see my email address here, kate@sonatahealth.com?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead and drop me an email. I have some resources that are not on the East Coast, West Coast, that you might want to check out, okay?
So much.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. All right, I see Ken has already raised his desk to a standing position. Nice job. Very good. All right. Thank you all for attending. If you have any questions, just drop me an email. I want to thank our partners again at Insignia and at BNI for hosting this presentation. We really appreciate your support in bringing this to our audience here tonight.
My pleasure, Kate. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. Really, really well done today. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Bernie.